Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Murdoch, and this is Webinars with Wendy. I've been doing a series of webinars now for quite a while, and I think this is number 252. So thanks for tuning in and joining us. Just remember, if you really love the webinars, you can support them by going to the Murdoch Method Patreon account. That's Patreon, Patreon. I think that's what it is. I should put it in the chat. And you can subscribe for $5 a month. You know, it's nominal fee just to kind of help us along, because it does take a lot of time for my staff and I to organize these, but we love bringing you these webinars. So it's not a requirement. It's just, if you feel you're getting value out of them, then we would appreciate if you support us. Tonight, my guest is Ida Hammer. She's back. Woohoo! And we haven't seen her for a while. We love talking to Ida, all kinds of hoof talk. And so if you love hoof talk, you're going to be really happy Ida's back. Welcome, Ida. Thanks for joining me again tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's been too long, really.
Yeah, it feels like ages.
I know.
Okay, so do a brief intro for somebody who is going to watch this webinar, has never heard of you. Just give them a little tiki tour, okay?
Hey guys, I'm Ida Hammer, and I am with the Mackinac Dells 2 Whole Horse Hoof Care program. And so I trim horses, a clinician, educator, and I like everything horse. So any horse questions, any hoof questions, shoot them at me. And you can check out my website. It's www.mackinawdells2.com. So
awesome. And tonight we are going to talk about,
we're talking about hoof protection and what kind of hoof protection is good for your horse. So that's the scoop. It's going to be this is a brief overview, because like when I do this class in my classes, it's 2 full days. And like they're two probably 8 to 10 hour days. So, or three days. Sorry. There used to be 2 stuff to them. So
okay, so this is just kind of like the tiki tour of hoof protection by Ida Hammer. Cliff notes.
Yes. Yes, pretty much. It's like, this is a Reader's Digest version.
Well, and that's the thing. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention was that, you know, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as boots. And then what was the first one? The one with the bar, you know, you had to take the hoof pick. What was that one called?
Yes, that was the original Easy Care boot.
Yeah. And that's all there was. And so we're talking quite a while ago. And now there's a plethora.
Yes. Plethora. Well, I smile when you say that, because when I first started doing this professionally, that was the one boot. That was the boot we had. And so, and it wasn't a big selling point for people that are trying to come out of horseshoes to use this wire boot that had claws in it that bit into the sides of the horse's hoof and stuff. So we've now got, like I said, tonight is just like just a tip of the iceberg for what we have, because in the classroom I have tables full of all the samples of what we have. So there's lots of options.
All right. So you're kind of like the Joyce Harmon of saddles. When Joyce and I used to do these saddle workshops, I mean, she had racks and racks and racks of saddle, all kinds of special saddles, in that they were unique.
Yes.
Not necessarily a good way. Yeah, you know, and sometimes it because there's so many, I think one of the biggest problems for the average consumer is, how do I know it's going to fit or work for my horse?
Yeah, because not all of them do. It's like some boots are really, really good for certain types of horses, and then not so good for other types. So that's in the full-blown class. That's what we try to cover with that, because first of all, like you can read reviews, you can see all that you see on magazines or online, but until you have it in your hand, I'm a see it, touch it, feel it person. So so we try those on, like, and of course, like we do usually the hoof protection classes following some of the trimming classes. So we have a variety of cadaver feet that we're trying them on, so that you can actually see how that they're going on all different sizes. And then you can feel them and understand why this might work better for this horse and this might work better for that horse. And in the regions that you live in, some boots work great for certain environments, and some, you know, don't work so much for those. So that's a big thing. And I have graduates all over the country, and so I get feedback from them of what they're using in the trains that they're using them in. So it's really helpful for me to know like what's working out good.
Yeah. And you know, that I hadn't even thought about the different environments, you know, if it's a wet environment, a dry environment, a hard environment, standing. Oh, it's too many choices. Okay, let's get into it so that you can help demystify this a little bit, because it gets overwhelming and confusing sometimes.
Okay, cool. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like remember the first webinar, I'm like, we had to start early so you could tell me how to do everything. I'm not great at it yet, but I'm still better than I used to be one.
That's all right. You know, I mean, education all around, right? That's the deal. It's yeah.
I think I got my,
No, I mean, there you go. Awesome.
I gotta get it bigger.
Do I turn this so you can see it?
How do I get this off? So I need to move my screen here. Let's see. I can't get my, wait a minute. I can't get this down till I can move this thing up here.
Okay, we're following your pointer.
I know. I'm trying to, can you see what I'm doing? I can't move. How do I get that off? So I do that.
You just need to place from start and we'll be good.
Well, yeah, I just couldn't get to it because of that bar. And then I had to just keep poking. So,
okay.
So let's see, play from the start. Okay. So yeah, you like choosing the right hoof protection. We already covered that part. So that's
we covered it. We're done.
We already covered like what we're doing. Now we just got to get to it. So again, like I've just got some examples on here of different things, but there's a lot more than just what I have on here. These are just giving everyone an idea. So we'll talk about like the hoof protection that you're looking for your horses, because therapy boots, we'll talk about that first, because a lot of times people are getting into a different type of hoof care because they have sore horses. So a little bit of the common therapy boots, and we'll talk more about it. So so early on, because you guys can see my pointer if I do this, right? So okay, so early on, Easy Care had came out with the RX boot, and which was really a lifesaver for a lot of sore horses, because that boot is pretty light and it's very, very flexible. So we really, most of the practitioners really liked that a lot because of how much comfort it added to the horse. And then it wasn't holding up long term for horses that had to be in it 24/7, because it's pretty much cloth, as you can see. But it was the best that it was out there for the time being. And then its next generation was the Cloud boot, which is still an Easy Care product. And so both of these boots are strictly therapy boots. They're not something that you can ride in. But with that said, I'm like, I had one young girl that had her horse, and he had been navicular for so long, and he was in awful setup of shoes, and I was his last hope. And so we got his shoes pulled and got him comfortable. And he spent a lot of time in the Cloud boots with really thick pads in those, and he was doing well. And he wasn't recovered enough to really go trail riding per se, but in the Cloud boots in the indoor, he was moving around pretty good. So she's a young girl, so she's like, can I just like hop on him and ride him in there? And I said, yeah, because it wasn't going to hurt anything. And just most of the time those will come flying off if you're thinking you're going to go on a serious ride. But she just wanted to see what he felt like again after years of not getting to ride him. So, but they're not meant to be ridden in. They're strictly therapy boots. And so when we talk about these kind of therapy boots, these I'm just going to give some reasons why that you use them, and then there's always more. Like I said, like it takes 3 days to cover all this stuff in a full-blown class. But so a lot of horses that are tender-footed, like you and I were talking about with the one lady's horse. If your horse is thin-soled, or they're sore-footed or bruised, or maybe they've been trimmed too short, any of those kind of things, that they're just foot sore, these boots work wonders. And each of these boots come with a pad. And let's see, like I'm going to get to pads section pretty soon, but they come, like the RX boot comes with a really thin pad. It doesn't last very long. So when we replace that pad, we will usually replace it with a thicker pad. And we're going to discuss pads in a bit. But the RX boot, or the Cloud boot, this boot over here, it comes with a Cloud pad, which is it's a soft wedge. And a lot of horses that have navicular issues or heel pain or caudal failure in the hoof really, really like the Cloud pads because of the soft wedge that it has. And so that's been a game changer for us along the way. But some of the struggles we have is because horses that live in these boots 24/7, they just like they wear out pretty quick. So like we're always looking for better solutions for that. And then one other thing I want to mention about the therapy boots. So I have a rule for myself and like in my clients for horses. So any horse that's been rehabbed from a pathology, whether it be that they've had laminitis in the past, or they've been foundered, or they have navicular, anything that has happened to them whatsoever, even side bone, ring bone, anything that vibration is going to bother them, anything like that, they need to wear the therapy boots on their affected feet. Say most of the time it's the fronts, but sometimes it's on the hinds as well. But they need to wear a pair of therapy boots when they're trailering anytime, because of the vibration in the trailer. And the cool part is we didn't always know this, but our first navicular horse that we rehabbed after I had learned how to do this kind of stuff was she was like, we finally got her rehab to soundness. She was good. She never had any issues. But then if we trailer her for like a half an hour to 45 minutes to go riding, we'd get off the trailer and she'd be lame, and she hadn't been lame at any point from that point ever. So actually Ada's the one that said, I'm like, it has to be the trailer ride. So we did an experiment because we were using these therapy boots on other horses for other reasons. And so we did an experiment. We trailered her in the RX boot, and same distance, same place that we were going to go riding. We trailered her and got her off the trailer after she got those boots on, and there was no issue whatsoever. So it was a vibration of the trailer. And so time and time again, I'm like, just tons of times, people like trailer their horses to me that have an issue, and they'll trailer them without the boots. And if they've had an issue, I'm like, anytime that they're going, I don't care if they're just going for 10 minutes, you really want to slip some boots on their affected feet. And it doesn't have to be, so like in that case, like the RX out of all the boots that are out there is probably the cheapest pair of those. I'm like, they are cloth, so they don't hold up as long, but those are a quick pair that you can put on. Or even if you have riding boots and you put a pad in it, it sucks up some of the vibration when the horse is riding back there. And because I always have to try everything that the horses have to go through. So I've ridden in the back of the trailer just to feel what it's like, in between trying to keep your balance and the vibration of the trailer moving. And different trailers have better or less, however, like the development of the trailer for vibration, it makes a difference. And and after you ride back there for a little bit, like your feet tingle, and you're kind of like they have like a little bit of sea legs. So just experience what they do.
Just throwing that out there, then a mat in a trailer that absorbed concussion would be a really good thing.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, especially because I'm like, and I've had several people ask me, like, is anybody going to develop a mat like that? Because like,
yes, we are
3 horses. Yeah. Well, I was as a giant hint.
Yeah, no, we've already got them in my trailer, and we just have to do some actual tests. I've been running them in my trailer. Well, my trailer hasn't been going very far, but we have them in my trailer. We are we have it's one of those projects that we have other projects stacked up in front of it.
It's much needed. So because people that have more than one horse that are trailering for distance. So the first part is any horse that has any pathology, whether they're rehabbed or not, Mike, you need to be conscious of that. The second part of that is for us, anytime we trailer more than 5 hours, we put some sort of vibration relief on any of the horses, like on their front feet mainly, but if they have issues in their back feet, I'm not going to do that too. So the idea with the trailer mat that absorbs it would be brilliant, because like before the pandemic, like we were going to Florida like every like winter / spring, and that's 2 12-hour days in the trailer. So all of our horses had stuff on their feet, so that it helps them. Like you got to be conscious of what you think rides good might not feel good after being on it for 2 12-hour days consecutively. So right. It's just things to think about.
And that's one of the things that at this point, they're in my trailer. And what we need to do is get them into a trailer that's doing long hauls and see. Yeah,
like that would be excellent, because so all horses to me, like we've talked about this before. I'm like, I don't have one horse is not more valuable than another horse. I love them all. So, but it would be really important for the people that are trailering like from place to place to place, like every weekend or every week and competing, because those horses are not only are they traveling a lot, but they are traveling a lot and then having to perform. So, right. And then if like it's the material of like your Surefoot stuff, like what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes with the pads. But if it's the material like that, that's even better than like, so a lot of times people will say, well, my trailer has mats, or our trailer has mats too, but they're thick, hard, rigid rubber. So
right. And the
that
rigid
doesn't
rubber
really-
isn't going to provide you with any a concussion absorption. The
Yeah.
materials that we actually are utilizing are harder than our hard materials so that it absorbs concussion, but doesn't, we don't want to make the horses have to work on it, is the bottom line.
Right.
And it's
Right. So
two
that's
layers.
important.
It's two different materials.
To absorb two different frequency ranges.
Right. So you absorb the what's coming up from the road and then what's coming down from the horse. So two different materials. So just tell you, it's R&D. And needs some
Well,
more,
cool. Like
more D, but
it's much needed. So I'm going to I forgot to shut my notifications off, so I got to try to do that.
oh,
'cause
that's
otherwise
you.
they're
Okay,
gonna-
I was like, what?
Yeah, but
Well, that's me. That was me that dinged. Sorry.
was it? So I
Yeah.
forgot to shut mine off too. So like if I don't think they come across when I'm sharing my screen though, do they?
No,
Nobody.
but no, that was on my side. That was like,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but it's much needed to get that. And so like, and the other cool part is like Dr. Bowker has a lot of studies on vibration effects, so like frequencies of vibration and stuff like that, breaking down tissue. So, and I don't have that right handy to pop up to, but I'm sure you've talked to him about it before.
Yeah, but that's true. I forgot that he had that data because I know he's not a fan of some of these vibrating things because of the frequency, and then it might actually be damaging the lamina if I remember his information correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus also they have, and I think, and I don't want to quote wrong things, but when I told them, like the micro ligaments in the foot as well. So
yeah, I gotta drag him
like-
back. He's been busy doing some. I introduced him to somebody, and so he's gone off on a research project. But I have to lasso him and haul him back in here.
Yeah,
for the webinar.
yeah, because like he could add to this a lot. So I better keep this going here, otherwise we'll run out of like. Well, I'll be pouring 3 days worth of stuff into.
I know we got to
an
keep
hour.
going. Okay, we got sidetracked.
So-
That's right. Brad's taking
so-
notes because he's our R&D guy.
Heck yeah. So another boot that's becoming really popular, I really like it a lot, is these fusion boots. So I've got the website down on their on the bottom, their website. And so they have more than two. Again, I'm like, this is just the tip of the iceberg for how many things. But the cool part about these boots is that they can double therapy boots and riding boots. So sometimes, by the time somebody's trying to rehab their horse and they're buying a therapy boot and they're having to replace the pads and they're doing all this. And then when they finally get to start riding them again, then they have to buy something else to protect their feet. And so these boots so far, and again, I teach all over the country. And so I get feedback from all of my people. I get feedback from my graduates, plus I get feedback from their clients and the stuff that they're doing. And so far I have not had one complaint about these boots from anywhere.
Wow.
And like lots of places. I'm like, and they're just so well made when you look inside them. I was trying to take pictures for us to put on here, but I can't do them justice with trying to take a picture and put it on here. But their lining, I'm like, they've got a soft suede lining around the back where the cuff and the bottom of the boot come together. They're just really, really well made. And then they're such a boot that you can put a thicker pad in, so you can have that boot and use it as a therapy boot with a thick pad, and then turn around, just like the young girl that wanted to ride her horse, that was the navicular horse, and she wanted to ride in the cloud boots. Well, if she had these boots, she could have just went ahead and rode and not worried about it, because you can ride in those too. So lots of cool things happening with those. A couple of my graduates are dealers in those, Lisa Mittler in Texas, and not sure, maybe, I don't know who the other.
Can you only get them through dealers, or can you buy them online?
You can get them through dealers, and I think you might be able to get them online, but I don't know that for sure.
Yep. No,
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. You can.
Yep.
The web
Yeah,
shop.
you can. Okay, cool.
They're not
And, yeah,
cheap.
you can-
They're European pricing. Are they made in Europe?
they're made in Europe. Yeah, I think
Okay.
maybe Finland, but don't catch me on that either, because like when we're talking about hundreds of different types of boots, I don't remember where all of them were made.
Yep. No, it's okay.
So, but yeah, they are pricey, but the part that I liked about them was they're not exorbitantly pricier than the average boot that's out there. And so far with all the people that I've been in contact that use those, nobody's had to replace them from wearing them out in any short periods. I'm like, they
That's
last
nice.
a long time. So that's pretty impressive. So here's the bottom of them. This is, so what was cool about these, and when you and I were talking earlier about the pads. So, so when we're talking about the pads here in a bit, you don't have to put as thick of a pad in these boots because it wouldn't hold like a whole 1 inch pad, but it holds a 1/2 to a 3/4 inch pad pretty nicely. But the cool part is some of their technology for their boots is the vibration control in the sole of these boots itself. So there's just not much about these that I don't like. I'm like, they're really, I think if you put one in your hand, you'll be liking it too. It's
Okay.
just, they just are, and they come pretty big because I've got one of my clients has got her Clydesdale thoroughbred in a pair of these. And like he normally blows through all kinds of stuff, and he's not like, he's just tooling around pretty nicely in these one. Like he's in glue-on shoes, and then he's in these sometimes too.
Okay.
So I'm pretty impressed. So here's another few types of riding boots. And I just put a few on here. I'm like, again, I've got in my classroom, I've got tables full, but this one on the left, those are the flex boots. And so I'm like, people are raving about these. I'm like, they're super, super flexible. They're basically really like a second skin. One of my graduates deals in these. And then also, so I'm not sure how it's all connected because Lindy Griffith is in Tampa. She takes care of a lot of the orders with all that stuff. But these boots are pretty awesome. And then they have such pretty colors. I'm like, the gaiters, you can get those in almost any color. So you can get them in purple, red. So Ada's horse, we just got her a pair in ruby red because, like, you know, it's be like her slippers, you know. But now we just got to ride to try them out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I have a couple of my people are actually jumping in these. I think Heather Wu in Kentucky, I think she's doing low level eventing in these boots. They're just pretty handy. They don't have a super thick sole though. And so if you're riding in those and you had a really thin soled horse, it might be iffy because they're so flexible. Like they go with the foot. But if you notice, and I put these are all of your pads in here. So just a little.
I was going to ask you what that pad was in those boots.
Yeah. Guess which one? Because I told you already what my favorite one was. So
yeah. Yep. It's the one we don't have yet.
I know. I know. I couldn't help it, but I just couldn't stop touching that one. Like it was.
Yes.
It just was. I'm like, and it fit and everything too. It's like it just fit so nice. But so that's what I was saying though earlier though, because that one is a 1/2 inch, and you can't usually get a 1/2 inch pad in riding boots very easily because most of the time, like it makes the foot doesn't stay in there. It makes the boot not fit right. So the ones on the left with the pretty gaiters, those are flex boots. These in the middle, and I apologize because this is a bit of an older style, like, because this is like, I think the first year these came out, but these are the scoop boots. And so so I have clients that either love these or hate them. So like either way, I'm like the ones that are madly in love with them, I'm like wouldn't put their horses in anything else. And the ones, and like sometimes like this part back here, it depends on your horse's shape of his hoof, how comfortable they are in that. But I have a lot of people doing a lot of things in those, and they, for most disciplines, they're legal in the show ring. There's some that aren't, but they've been shown in these in some of the shows because of them riding so low, and it doesn't really have this coming up over their fetlock, so they don't consider that like a covering. Right. So, but a lot of people love those. Like for me, other than I don't have to do it on the flex boot, but the majority of the boots that I deal with, I'm like, I move their breakover back because I'm a weirdo about that, about their long, some of the boots add length to we talked about that before. Some of the boots add length to the toe. And then if you're using them as riding boots, then you need to bring the breakover back so you're not adding more tension on the front of the foot.
Right.
Or more tension on everything that's connected to the foot. Not just the foot. And then these are a pair of Easy Care gloves. These are what we have been riding in mostly up until we just got some flex boots to try, and like we've been riding in these. And then we ride and glue on shoes a lot too, because if we're going to go on a long ride and we're going to have to do a lot of stuff, I usually just glue shoes on our horse. I'm saying that out loud, but I don't do any nails, but I might glue shoes on our horses if we're going to be for a couple weeks so that we don't have to do anything with the boots. But we use these if we're going to go on a day ride because they're pretty easy to put on. And like, you can't tell it on this one. I use this boot in class. I'm like, I've got the breakover back to like right here. So like this toe might be here, but the ground bearing forces are here.
Right.
So, and then all these, like I said, it's got your pads in it. Like, look, you can see your pads back there too. I was trying all those. So
We sent Ida a box of pads of prototypes and ones that are actually available. And so of course, what she put in that boot was the prototype.
I'm sorry. Was that bad? Should I not do
Nope,
that?
nope. Because it's a great contrast color.
Well, and it's just so fun to touch.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, it's just so squishy. It's
We
like
just
on
hope the horses like it. You know, obviously the people really like to handle it, but we haven't put it in a horse shoe, you know, in a boot yet.
I'll be finding out. I'll stick it on some horses. I have
Great.
busy next week, about busy 5 days, but I'll stick it in some horses and see what
Okay,
they
great.
say.
Because that's what we need is feedback.
Yeah. I'm like, I already know what they're gonna say, but
We need them to say it.
yes. So am I bad?
No, it's okay. So let me just kind of preface this a little bit. We sent Ida a whole bunch of samples. And of course I hand wrote what the sample was so that we could figure it out. So like that says sample pudgy and that says sample medium and that says sample firm. And so they're just different materials that we're working with because what we're trying to do is come up with stuff horses like. And of course, you know, there's a lot of different materials, but we've got to make sure the horses are happy with it. So Ida gets to test stuff for us. So thank you, Ida.
Oh, thank you. And I'm like, I hope this is okay because I figured.
Yep, it's
we were
there
okay.
now, right?
Well, these are already, all of these are, so they just have writing on them, but I'm like, they're already available for sale, correct?
No, none of the samples are available for sale.
Oh, I'm so bad. I thought like, no. So this one, the firm is.
There is no, that's not our firm. Our
That's a
firm is
different
gray.
firm.
That's a different firm material. It says
Oh.
firm, but it's a different material.
I should have sent you pictures before I put them on here.
It's okay. So
Those materials will replace the styrofoams.
yeah, so that material that says firm in the far right, you know how you use styrofoam on horses in an emergency? Well,
Yes.
we're looking for a replacement for that blue styrofoam because A, styrofoam in your vehicle is messy, breaks apart and all that good stuff. It squeaks. And B, Dow Chemical isn't making that blue styrofoam anymore.
Apparently not.
So it's hard to get, but we have found a material that may replace the styrofoam and it comes in different firmnesses and they call them firms. And they call them X firm and XS firm and XSS firm. So, so that's why that says firm, but our firm that is available on the market currently is a gray foam.
Yes, because
and
I have
we
a
have them
picture of
there.
it. I have a picture of it. I'm gonna, well, it's
We'll
gonna be
get
on
to
slide.
it. So just keep going because we'll get to it.
So back to this firm one though, that we were talking about. I'm like, I like this way better than the styrofoam because this
Okay.
isn't, you can't bend styrofoam. Like, I like this one. Can you like? I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah. And is that just firm?
This is the one that was
what's
it. This is the one.
Oh, it's the XX firm. It's got two X's. Okay, XX
Yeah,
firm.
so it's still nicer than the styrofoam because you can't do this. That styrofoam would break.
Right.
So it's still for me because it goes back to the vibration again. So for me, this is going to absorb a lot of vibration. Like still because it's squishy enough. So actually, like I'm gonna start using these for comparison to digital cushions. So
Yeah, and regular styrofoam breaks down super fast. We're
Yes.
trying to find something that's not going to break down so fast because if it's breaking down, it's not giving the horse support, right?
Yes.
So that's why we sent a box of foam to Ida, and she's pulled out all the ones that are not available right now.
I'm sorry. I'm like I
It's
should've
okay.
said-
Keep going.
Okay.
What are these boots that we're looking at?
So that's why I put these because I had writing on them so I could show you the different boots. So the first two boots, these two boots are the Fusions. And so with the Fusions, I put the 1/2-inch pad in those because their sole was so, the sole of the boot is so vibration controlled and that I felt like that the horse would be more comfortable with the thinner pad to absorb the vibration because the boot itself was doing that. So that's
Right, so a little
these two,
push, because the boot already absorbs vibration.
yes.
Okay.
So these two are the fusion boots, two different styles, but they're fusion boots. And then these two, this one is the cloud boot and this one is the RX boot. And so both of those boots would accommodate the thicker pad. And then I put like, and I didn't know this until we started talking before this, that there was not a medium made yet. And so we'll talk about that later about more mediums. So with that said, this medium is similar to the Surefoot medium though, yes?
Correct. It is the same material as the Surefoot medium, just a half, 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah. So just playing with the Surefoot pads, a lot of horses like the medium pads, but in my experience, they have to, sometimes they have to graduate to it to start like
Most of the time. Yep.
They have to they have to get a feel for what their body's doing, because standing on the Surefoot pads wakens a lot of nerve endings and proprioceptive endings and stuff up. So with that said, even if there was a medium pad, I would still, you'd have to really test out the horse and see what they're thinking about before putting that in, or if even somebody thought about cutting one out of their pad and putting that in.
Oh, don't cut your pad. It's 2 inches thick and it'd be really hard. But one of the reasons that we, okay, so full disclosure here, Ida's the one who's responsible for us getting into boot inserts at all.
And then I'm not telling people what I should be telling them beforehand.
Yeah, she was like, can you guys make boot inserts out of your material? And we're like, yeah, we probably can. So now I won't tell you the journey we've been on to do this, as all product development is a journey. But of course, what I just done is pick the ones that we actually don't have in production.
Sorry again.
It's okay. But the bottom line is we do have some boot inserts to go in these boots, and we have them in soft, firm, and hard. And the hard is 3/4 of an inch because it's stiffer and you don't need an inch of it. But basically what we're seeing here is that they fit, right? They fit in these different boots, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Onward.
Okay. So can I tell, so when I was testing out the stuff, when I first started telling you about this, about wanting boot pads, can I tell you about one of the experiments? Can I talk about one of the experiments?
Sure. What the heck?
Okay. Well, now I'm asking permission. I'm just like, and now I'm going to start.
You're going to say, but sure, we'll give you permission and we'll find out later. Ask for forgiveness, right?
I'm going to start all my webinars out with you from now on. At the very first slide, like, hi, I'm Ida Hammer. I'm sorry, Wendy, for what I may or may not have said.
Okay.
So, but cool. Like, so we did an experiment, like when we were so the cool part is a lot of my graduates, and I had taken the Hoof protection class, got to try some of the Wendy's prototypes out so we could start giving Wendy feedback. Some of them, and if you're listening or watching this webinar, you have pads and you haven't gave Wendy feedback, you're in trouble. And take the heat off.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I know. They're like, everybody that gets us, like, you have to write to Wendy, and like, yes. And then I ask you, and then nobody has. So people, get your stuff in. So the one story that we did was with the foundered horse in Texas, and I do believe it wasn't. It's been quite a while ago, and I don't know the firmness that it was, but so he was having some pretty big issues with his founder, and so we tweaked his trim. They brought him to the professionals class with my graduates, and then we put a pair of your pads in. And so that person, I think you and I have talked about this horse, because I had the dye on it still, one of the pads. So one of the things is that we told them that we were sending them home with those pads and the boots, and to see how their horse responded with it. And so they did give feedback to my student, which gave feedback to me, which gave to you. But one of the things that I had wondered all along, and this is why I was really pushing for getting the Surefoot material into the boots, is because Wendy's Surefoot pads are pretty awesome. And if you guys have done anything with those at all, they're mind blowing. You don't really know what the heck just happened, but they're just pretty cool. So But with that said, what one of the thoughts I had in my head was, if we put something in a boot, especially of a horse that was having a severe pathology, one of the surefoot pad densities, and we put that in the boot and we let the horse, like, and the horse walked off beautifully in the boot with that pad. And so, so what I wanted to do as an experiment though, is I wanted them to, because he couldn't walk comfortably without the boots. So they left the boots on for 2 days and then they took them off for 1 day. And so what my goal was, and I'm like, and this is not to say that would happen on every horse, but this did happen with this horse, is that his proprioception changed and his nerve endings changed enough. Something changed enough that he retained the comfort of the pad in the boot for 24 hours after the boot was off.
It's really amazing.
So, so it was, I can't explain it. I'm not saying that would be the result of every horse, but that was one of the things that when you and I were talking, I was wondering how long could we get residual comfort or proprioception after we remove the stimulus. And so, and that was one of the things that happened with that horse, and it progressed that way. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that was one of the reasons why we started talking about these pads in the first place, is so maybe we can change the proprioceptive response and the longer pain relief than we would have been able to do otherwise. So
it's such a cool story too. It's a really cool story.
It was fun. And like, it was really fun. And like, because the clients were a bit skeptical about the whole thing. They're like, okay. And then when we did this and that happened that way, they were pretty over the moon. Like, that's the best part, is like if somebody's just like, oh, it's going to be like, they're all rosy and everything's gonna be beautiful. And I'm like, I'm happy that that might happen. But somebody starts off the fact that they're like, okay, whatever. Like we drove 3 hours to get here and da, 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 da. And so then it did happen, and then they're happy. And then that's like double happy. So.
Awesome.
So now I did this part right.
There we go.
Oh, if I'm going to run things by you from now on. But so these are Wendy's. This is her like hard labor. Like so Brad's sitting there with you, like Wendy and Brad's hard labor. So, yeah, Wendy and Brad's hard labor so getting these out. And so the surefoot hoof patties, the therapy boot inserts. And so you can see there's hard, and then there's firm, and there's soft, hard. I can't read them now.
And soft.
I've got them. Hard, firm, and soft. And so so I should have took a little video of each of those, and I apologize, but awesome stuff. And then Wendy and I were talking about sizing wise and stuff, so and cutting. So I think these are developed with the size idea of equalizing to like the cloud boot. So the size 3 would equal to a size 3 cloud boot. And when I was trying them out, so it stayed pretty consistent with the sizes with the, it was pretty consistent with the size 2 surefoot patty. So I just took out the hoof and call it surefoot patty.
That's okay. That works for me.
So with the surefoot patties though, so the fusion boots are measured in European measurements. So those, usually everything that I have, I try on is a size 2. That way it keeps it square where I'm going with trying stuff out. And so if it's a size 2 surefoot patty, it will pretty much fit into a size 2 cloud, a size 2 RX, and a size 13 fusion. You may have to, with the fusions, they need to be a little bit thinner to fit perfectly. Otherwise you'll have to trim them up a little bit to get them in there. But so they're pretty consistent with their sizing wise is what they'll fit. With other sizes, I'm like, it's hard enough to get the companies to be like in the same sizing as what everybody else is. So it's hard to tell, but I think Wendy's come up, tell them what you're coming up with the measurement thing.
Yeah. So because there's so many different boots now, as you have described, what we're going to do is come up with dimensions so that on the site you can go and you can look and see the dimensions of each of the different sizes. And we're adding sizes. We just have to get the dies made. But we're hoping to add sizes by the new year, one up and one down from this. And then we're basically going to have a PDF file with a tracing of each size so that you can print it out, cut it out, check to see if it's going to fit, and then you'll know. So you know what size to buy. But we also have a variety pack where you can, well, that's the densities, where you can get the different densities in a variety pack. And one of the things that I think, Ida, and maybe you can speak on this, is that when it's the same all the time, it kind of loses its effectiveness. And by having variation, I think that just like people, if you change your shoes, it kind of gives you different input. And so I think that there's value to having the different densities in terms of giving different feedback to the horse, just the way we have the different densities with the Sherpa pads. What do you think about that?
Well, I 100% agree with that. And in fact, I was going to talk about two parts of that. But that's the cool part about having the 3 different densities, because we'll just like first case scenario, we'll talk about like a horse coming out of a laminitis deal. So when they're coming out of laminitis, they're going to be super sensitive on their feet. And so definitely, or more than likely, we're going to want to put soft pads in. But the cool part is that we can graduate them as that they're like, their feet are inflamed. They're just really not happy. And then we can move them to something a little bit firmer, and then more firm to actually start developing the foot more. So that was part 1 of all that. And the other part is, so another thing, and so we discussed this a lot in the full hoof protection class, but going through and playing with all of your pads. So horses can be sore-footed or have different things going on that makes them sore-footed. It could be like a sore foot, like in the sole sore, like we just talked about. But you can have horses that have soft tissue damage inside the foot. And sometimes we don't know that unless you have an MRI.
Right.
But so they can have soft tissue damage inside the foot. And those horses tend to do better with a more firm pad, because if you have to think about the inside of the foot and having shift, if the soft pad's super soft, that gives too much play in a foot that might have a soft tissue injury inside of like one of the ligaments inside of the hoof itself. So because I like to just see what horses say. And so sometimes we don't always have all the information because we don't have an MRI, and we're trying to figure out what the horse is telling us. And if I put in a soft pad and the horse said, yeah, this is okay, but then I put in a harder pad and the horse is like, this is way better, then I would be inclined to maybe encourage the client to search for deeper answers of the soreness. So it's like, so to me, it's not just a healing tool. It's also helps us tell us things that we need to ask.
Right. We can get more information when we have choices. And it's the whole idea of, if you only have one, that's all you're going to have. If you don't like it, too bad. But if you have choices, they can give us more information.
Yeah. And so I'm like, if for myself personally, I would want to have one of each density, just like per trial. Like I wouldn't just assume that, okay, I'll just get the soft. I'm like, you have them reasonably priced enough that they're just is affordable as any other pads out there, if not more so. So I would want to have a variety. I would want all 3.
Yeah. And that was kind of our idea, is that let the horse pick,
Yeah.
Keep them at a price point where it's not that, it's affordable, unlike some inserts, and let the horse pick. And so we're going to continue to develop, because Brad and I have already sat here and talked about this tonight before we got on this webinar, about coming up with, that the other materials that we have. And because every horse is a little different, right? I mean, it's why we have so many boots.
Yeah.
If they were all the same, we'd have one boot. That would be it. And at one point we only had one boot, but now we have 3.
Yes. Now we have variety.
Yeah.
We have variety. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay.
Yep.
So when we're talking about hoof protection, sometimes boots are not going to cut it either. So horses that would have like a compressed corium, and I've got this has been on some of my webinars before, but this top left one, if you look at it, you can see it's thin soled. I'm like, and there's really a compression of the shadowing here, saying that the blood flow is being a little bit compressed as the horse is weighting itself. And so this is a digital x-ray, and this is the same horse with the venogram. So you can see that there's not much blood flow going on right here at the tip. And so I would say two parts to that. So if the horse is not a riding horse, but has this issue, you very much could put it in therapy boots. And then that would be a horse that you'd want to have the squishier pads to, so that it had a chance, so that the corium is getting a break every time that material is giving a break back. But if it's a horse that is in work, then you would need something besides a therapy boot. And then, so this is the same horse with its foot lifted up. I just rotated it so you could see it. So this is how much blood flow that comes back to it after the pressure's off of it. So pressure's on it, no blood flow. Pressure's off of it, blood flow. So horses like that, I've worked on several of these compressed corium horses that they lose the blood flow to the bottom of their foot. And it's only a matter of time before they start losing bone mass there, because it can't grow sole because there's not enough blood flow going to it. So those horses, I like to put those in the glue-on shoes. So this isn't glued on anything. This is just giving you an idea. So I put this cadaver foot that's half hoof and half bones, so that you can see when I put that on, like putting them in this actually relieves the spot of the corium that's being compressed. So it gives it a chance to get some blood flow back to it again. So, and like there's, again, I put out on top here one of several options of glue-on shoes. My favorite for this is still the performance, the performance shoe. I like it because there's no metal in it. I like to use glue. I'm not a big nail fan. So I like it that the horse's foot can expand as much as it needs to expand, just like it would be if it was bare, but with the protection of having rest. So is like that. I'll put these kind of shoes on that they need 24/7 protection, and that they're possibly still going to be going back to work, because this horse could go back to work in these, even with the compressed corium, he could go back to work because his corium is getting blood flow again. So there are times when boots aren't enough. And so and when I first started, it was like, that was like bad to say that stuff. And sometimes people are like all like, oh, but but so, however you take it.
Well, and you know what I'm going to say is, I think it's really important to do what's right for the horse, and to make a blanket judgment of, I'm only ever going to do this because all horses, that's not right. Nope. You have to look at the individuals and make the decision that's right for the individual, and be willing and flexible enough to let go of your ego and do the right thing for the horse.
Yeah. I'll never sell out a horse for some ideal. Like, I just won't do it. And so, and it's funny because I'm like, I've worked on some horses that really needed the glue-on shoes, and the persons were like, nope, we want to do this barefoot. I'm like, it'd be nice, but it's like, the only thing you do with this particular horse barefoot, it's going to make it crippled, because it needs more help than that. And then like they understood and went forward, and the horse healed, and it didn't need to be in glue-on shoes for very long, but it just needed time to heal what was going on. So that's one of the other things. And there's several other glue-on options out there. So I'm not just, I'm like, I have those in the classroom, but this would be an all-night webinar if we did it.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not.
So I put some of my favorites on there. So
yeah,
I think that's my last slide. Let me look. I'm not sure. Nope. I take that back. I lied. I can't remember.
hey.
So this is another glue-on apparatus, and this is called the Love Child. It is also an easy care product. And the nice part about the Love Child is I didn't do it on the styrofoam leg, but you can, for horses that need to add heel height, then you need to develop some of the caudal portion of the foot because they have caudal failure. You can really use a lot of dental impression material in here. And the bottom of these are just like the bottom of the shoe, other than it's got a thin piece of rubber across here, but the rest of it's like the bottom of that. So it's still flexible, but not as you have a little more glue space here, and you can add some height. So I've used these on a lot of horses that have had negative angles on the back feet. And I put the dim in these, and you can build that up. You can give them a couple good degrees more angle if you build that up correctly. And a lot of those horses will maintain that after the fact too. So because they're still getting to use their whole hoof and still using the dim in it to develop the hoof. So there's always, like, I just don't understand can't and no. So if there's always something that you can come up with for different horses to help them. So, and that might be my last slide. Yep. I wasn't sure.
How long have you been doing this, Dinah?
Professionally, I've been doing it for 17 years.
But,
Well,
the thing that's I just want to say is that the evolution of the industry and the development is been. We're going to unshare your screen there.
Okay.
It's pretty amazing that there's a lot of great minds thinking about how we can do this, and a lot of trial and experimentation, which, not every experiment is going to work out, but if we don't experiment, we can't come up with new ideas. And I think the thing that strikes me in my lifetime career of horses is there weren't these options. Now we have options.
Yes. And it's things that you thought first, like you might have thought that there'll never be something like that. So you have to, like, I can remember like ages ago taping stuff on the horse's feet because there weren't pads made. I'm like, I'd make my own pads out of whatever I could find to make those. And so there might not have been, you might not have thought that there was going to ever be something like that, or that, I don't know. It's just, it's accelerated. I'm like, so from when I first started, like, it was the same thing as like, they just had the one clip-on boot that wasn't a big, it was like hard to keep that on and a lot of things. And so to get someone convinced to take the shoes off of their horse to like go onto a boot that's probably not going to stay on and that stuff, like that took a lot of faith in the people that trusted us.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting because I just came back from AAP, American Association of Equine Practitioners convention in Nashville. And we had a table at our booth, right? We had the Surefoot pads, we had the hay soaker, but we had this stand-up table at it. I said to Brad when we set up, I was like, this thing is just going to be in the way. And he's like, no, just put it over there. And so we put it over where he said to put it. And we put all the boot inserts on it. And it was fascinating to watch all these people come by. And that was the thing that drew them in. And they wanted to pick them up and they wanted to feel them and they wanted to squeeze. And we didn't even have Pudgy out. We only showed a few people Pudgy. But they
showed more tonight.
Yeah. But it was fascinating to see their response to it. And the other thing is that so many of them were like, can I just tape this to a foot? And we're like, sure, why not? You got an emergency? Yeah. You can just tape this thing to the foot, give them some comfort. Why not? We hadn't thought about that because we've been working with you and only thinking about boot inserts, but
we see you thought right on your feet. Like,
but it was great. And so, we're going to actually, talk to the vets about, and work with some of these other materials and come up with that alternative, because when you're going to an acute case and you've called the vet and the vet shows up and the horse is crippled and you don't have boots and you don't have pads, you got to put some on their feet. You got to do something to give them comfort right away.
Yes. And the other part, it's not even just the comfort. So some of these pads that are so squishy, like this kind of stuff. So it's not even like the comfort is critical, but when they're in a critical throes of laminitis, you need to support the coffin bone. And so squishing up against the coffin bone and giving that support, like, not only makes the horse feel better, but you're actually, you're putting some control on all the damage. It's not going to control all of it, but you're adding something that's actually going to help the foot not suffer as bad. Right.
So thanks to you, we're going to keep looking for more materials and different ideas and obviously send them to
so this is what you got to do from now on, though. Just like this is for another time. So see this sample, and then it says, do not photo. I'm not supposed to share it. I'm like, oh, cool. I've got little samples of these. And so I'm like, I just thought I would.
That's great. What we'll do is we'll let you do the webinar, then we'll send you samples.
Well, what would I have to take pictures of?
Yeah, but and just hold up Pudgy again, because we'll talk about that real quick. This is a sample, just a little bit closer to you. Bring it a little closer to you because it's a little blurry. There we go.
Okay.
Yep. And now just, oops, it got blurry again. Bring it back to you. Other way. There you go. Oop, there's that option. There you go. Now squeeze it.
So this is you guys, I promise you, once you get this, you'll be wanting them to like go send outlines of your feet to Wendy, and you'll be wanting to get up for your own shoes.
No,
Yeah, I can't tell you how many vets came up to our booth and said, "Can you make this in a boot insert?"
Oh my gosh. It's
Shoe
like,
insert.
I had Ada stand on it right away. Cause it's like, it's just like on Despicable Me. It's like, it's so squishy.
the other thing about that material, Ida, is it is naturally cooling. So
It feels like it.
yes,
it feels
so
like
if you've
it
got heat in the foot, that material is going to pull some heat out because it naturally is cooling.
And it's a natural material, right?
It's 40% natural materials.
And
And it's naturally flame retardant and all that, but it's and it's poured. It's not injection molded or anything like that. It's a
poured foam.
liquid, and they literally pour it into pans to create the sheets that we work with.
And then we threw it outside and tried to freeze it, and it will not change texture at all.
I kid you not. I'm like, so I'm doing a 3-day presentation at the Illinois Horse Fair. And unless you tell me I can't, I'm taking Pudgy. Everybody's going to feel Pudgy.
When is it? When is it?
March 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Oh, that gives us plenty of time to get you some actual production materials, because we got the dyes. We can dye it out. We just have to get the stuff.
Very cool. So just a little disclaimer: if you want to feel Pudgy, come to the horse fair. like once you feel this, you'll never not want to have it.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is a very strange material. And Brad went to the foam show, believe it or not. And that's the last day of the foam show is when he found Pudgy.
You can feel how cool it is. Those like I've got all these here, and they're all the temperature of our house, which is
right.
Like not super warm, but it's like, this is cool. Like this is cool.
So we just hope the horses like it. That's the thing is,
well, I will find out, because I'm like, I know you sent me 2 Pudgies, so I will try them on. I will so like I said, our one horse just passed that we did all of he was the inspector 13 for all things because he was so broken, but we can still ask the happy ones and see what they say.
Great.
They'll tell us if
And,
they'll be happy or happy.
Any of you
or
watching probably feel like
walk
you're
in
in
the
a
barn.
private conversation.
I'm gonna walk in the barn, and all the horses that have tried these on, and they're gonna have it like they're gonna have this in their stall, like, we want more Pudgy.
Oh dear. Well, that's the thing is what we want to do is see if we can't find things that make horses happy. And even if that's the horse that's really in pain, that's the most important horse to make happy, just so that we can get to them and take care of them. So it's awesome that we partner with you, Ida, because we're back here in the manufacturing side, but we don't see all those horses, and you do. And so it's really, really great that you can take these out and go into the field and get those questions answered of, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Do you want it thicker? Do you want it thinner?
Yes.
And so it's really fabulous. It's a great collaboration. We really appreciate it back here at this end.
Well, I appreciate all you guys are doing, because it's like all of my people do, like all of the everybody's like, can't wait to see what you're doing next. And and I did tell them that you're coming to Texas for our professionals class. Oops, now
And that's in April, right?
May.
May.
I gave you the dates, right?
Yep,
You
I got
the
it.
date? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, because they're all looking forward to it, because it's like, you're just a wealth of information always, and so much
That'll be
fun.
great fun. All righty, we're going to bring this one to a close. Thank you, Ida. It's great to talk to you, and we'll have to get together on to do more with Pudgy, but we will. And thanks everybody for joining us, and just stay tuned for another exciting webinar where we don't know where we're going. When we get started. Had a good laugh tonight, right?
Yes. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.